ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about Wagerwire. Wagerwire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at Wagerwire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search Wagerwire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it is that time of the morning for the breakfast bankroll for January 30th, 2025. Tomorrow, the last full day of January, Friday. Flip the calendar, February 1st. Holy cow, where is the time gone? OMG. Shout out to Kevin Goodrich yesterday. Good friend from known him forever. Took me courtside for the Boston Celtics against the Chicago Bulls. Got in an hour early for some warm-ups. I was from here to my screen with Tatum, Brown, and the rest of the crew there. Got a center court for some pictures. So again, thank you, Kevin. Celtics roll. But we're here to talk some college hoops. We're moving Adam Trigger from Friday to Thursday, and I think that benefits everyone watching and listening. We want this to grow. Big slate. Not a lot of big conference games, so it allows you to pick the brains of Mr. Adam Trigger. A lot of small schools, which I find intriguing. That's where the money is, but that's for another subject. Let's just give a shout out to our sponsorships. Wagerwire, head on over to Google Play, download that app. It is free. Viva Tequila Seltzer, 6 great flavors. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. And last but never least, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Head on over to Facebook. Introduce yourself to Terry Smith while you're there. Head on over to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Place an order today. Use the promo code SHRIMP, and you will get a 2-pound bag free. The 1640s, the big ones, ready for some shrimp scampi, some surf and turf, or get them ready for the Super Bowl next Sunday. So without further ado, let's bring in the star of this show, Mr. Adam Trigger. Morning, Adam.
What's up, Jeff? Hold on. I just want to tweet this out. Make sure my followers are coming over, because we're on Thursday now. I think I've trained them to know we're on here on Friday, but we're on Thursday, and we've got for someone like me, I love the Thursday slate, because the way college, it's like, I don't know when this happened, Jeff, but it's like the NCAA decided, like, all these big conferences are going to play on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You know what I think it has to do with? It's the smaller travel budget schools all play today, because they can play Thursday, Saturday, one road trip, less time in the hotel, and it probably saved some of these like smaller schools from going bankrupt or not having enough money to compete at this level. So but it's a great, so for someone like me that follows a lot of these small conferences, Thursday is kind of like, just Christmas every week. I love these smaller leagues. I have good intel in them, so love being on Thursday with you guys.
Well, I'm gonna vent. I kind of hinted backstage. I'm a team total guy, so the glory of it is if your team's getting blown out, or if your team is up by 20, I don't have to worry about backdoor covers or sweating it out. I'm a team total guy. Get to that number if we have an over, and I don't care who wins the game. And when you got the unders, when someone says, hitting 75% from three, well, you just chalk it up as a loss. And we were fortunate on St. Thomas, over 85.5. They got to 86. We had a loss early in the day, but I have to bring this up. I'm not a rigged guy. I'm not a refs guy. I had an over 67.5 last night. And when your team starts slow, and I'm talking real slow, and doesn't score for the last 3 minutes of the first half, and then doesn't score for the first 10 minutes of the second half, gets outscored 30-0, yet they get to 54. Should I be salty?
I think you're referencing St. Mary, Santa Clara.
That is correct.
Yeah. I actually, I gave St. Mary's out on my On the Clock segment, which you can find on my Twitter at AdamTriggerWT, where we're going to highlight, kind of deep dive just three games that I have opinions on. Admittedly, I fell asleep. So my only action yesterday ended up being Rhode Island, -4.5. It won. And if you want to see, a masterclass on how to try to blow a 20-point lead, that was a great watch, because Rhode Island had a 21-point lead, and that was a 2-point game late. Thankfully, they made their free throws and covered 4.5. But I kind of, I'd stayed up very late on Tuesday because I had San Jose State, so I watched every minute of that game and fell asleep watching the St. Mary's game, where it was about, came right out of the second half. So it was still a close game. I woke up. And so I learned of that run this morning when I kind of woke up and said, man, they gave up 30 points in a row. So listen, Jeff, I'm salty after every loss. I'm still salty. We're going to talk about Monmouth in a minute. I'm still salty that I didn't cover 11 last week because there was 800 technical free throws in the final 3 seconds of the game. So no, you can be salty as long as you want. I feel like the more miserable you are about losses, that the more locked in you are. So the better it'll go going forward.
And it's just common because it's physically impossible in my mind to go 13 minutes without 1 point. I mean, I could hand you the ball, Adam, after a made basket, and I just tell you to go 92 feet straight down the middle. They're going to call a foul, I would assume, at some point here. And I'm driving home from the Garden, and I'm just watching this. It was 26-24 at half, and I'm a big St. Mary's guy. And this is a Santa Clara team that had lost Saturday at Oregon State, and they've already beaten Gonzaga. It was a big game for both. Great spot, I thought, for Santa Clara, also because St. Mary's has the Zags on Saturday. So could have been a look-ahead spot. 26-24, I'm like, shit, St. Mary's has got the pace. Santa Clara's got to open it up here in the second half. And then they don't score for 10 minutes, 30-0 run. Thanks for playing. But the saltiness is they got to 54 without scoring for 13 minutes.
Yeah. You think, one or two shots like happens to bank in or something during that stretch, you're probably good. So that's a tough
one. Before we get to today's slate, I was on Sports Grid early this week. I gave out Arizona money line and was fortunate enough against Iowa State, get the 60-footer by Love, and I win in overtime. But Adam, a light bulb went on, and I talked earlier this week about it. Way back in the day, I don't even know how old you actually were. This UCLA team with Tyus Edney and the O'Bannon brothers, I saw them on a Thursday night. I watched them for 5 minutes. I says, there's no team in the country that's going to beat this team. They're going to cut the nets down. I was watching the Arizona-Iowa State game. The light bulb went on. And just call me crazy if you want. I saw something in this Iowa State team that says, this could be the team that could cut the nets down. Am I crazy?
I don't think you are, Jeff. I'm 38. So my first college basketball loves was that UCLA team. I was 9 years old, I think, when 95. I think it was 95 when they maybe won. I was 9. And so I really was like a fan of UCLA for a lot of years as a kid. because I also like staying up late. And this was back in the days of, was it Fox Sports Net? I think it used to be called, or Fox, right? Like the Fox Sports Net game.
You would catch the Thursday night Pac-12 games on USA. That's how old we are.
Yeah. USA first. Then it went to the Fox Sports regionals where you were pretty much always guaranteed that 11 p.m. tip. I love that. Now I'm too old. Now I have a hard time. I can't even make it through the second half of St. Mary's, but back-to-back nights. But when I was a kid, I couldn't wait for those West Coast games that were tipping off at 11 o'clock. So yeah, that UCLA team was tremendous. I remember rooting for them as a 9-10-year-old kid to win it, and they did. You say Iowa State, it makes me think of Marcus Fizer and those Iowa State teams from the late 90s that were super trendy and everyone thought they were going to win. And I think Hampton knocked them out as a 15 seed. Listen, Iowa State's, now that we're on the topic, this is a team that the last couple of years has been right there. Except the last couple of years, they didn't have an offense like they have this year. Like, if you've noticed, the offense has really caught up for Iowa State. Whereas, like 2 years ago, I think they made it to the Sweet 16. They were in the second weekend. I think they might have got knocked out in the Sweet 16, but it was games in the 50s. Like they were just grinding teams down to a halt.
Yep.
Now, like their offense is just as good now. So you want to talk about a team to maybe like buy in with? I can't argue with you there because the offense is caught up. The defense is still as good. We talked about that secret formula, right, last week with offensive and defensive efficiency, both in like the top 30 nationally. They fit the bill. So, Jeff, I can't argue with you there. They certainly deserve to be in the conversation.
Big slate today. Everyone watching it, and yes, you brought a ton of followers. Listen, guys, this Thursday spot with the big slate, small schools. Me and Adam were talking backstage. Anyone has a question about a game tonight that they're looking at? Adam says he's all systems go. So if you guys want to ask away about games, Adam will jump in and he'll give us.
It doesn't come up good on the green screen, but I've got notes here for basically every game on the board. So if you got a question, fire away.
You have two games initially you want to break down. Let's go with Northeastern and Hampton. And I can tell you this, Northeastern, another sore spot this week. I thought I'd get cute and I'd dive into them. Money line this week at home against Townsend, down 13 at half, 8-0 run to start the half. They got it back to 5. Townsend said, thanks for playing. So I can't wait to see what you have to say about Northeastern and Hampton.
Jeff, I implore you to make that same bet again tonight. I think you were a couple days early, and I'm going to explain why. So this is I've made 3 bets so far for tonight. 2 of them I can give you. 1 of them I can't because it's like the big 5% play, and Wager Talk will fire me if I give that out free on air. But that's up on my page. 1 of them is Northeastern, and I'll tell you why you were a couple days early. So I talked about this on my show on Monday. Northeastern, if they can get healthy, and what I mean by healthy is if they can get a starting 5 of Richard King, Harold Woods, William Kermery, L.A. Pratt, and Masai Troutman, they are as good as any team in the Colonial or the Coastal. I'll do that for the rest of time. I know it's the Coastal now, but the CAA will always be the Colonial Athletic Association to me. Anyway, this is a Northeastern team that lost Jared Turner 2 weeks before the season. He left the program. They've had a revolving door of injuries this whole season. Masai Troutman's been in and out. They were missing L.A. Pratt for a couple of games. When they were I went back to the Kermery injury back in December. When Northeastern was at their most healthy all year, in succession, they covered against Vermont in a game they should have won. Or I'm sorry, they covered against Vermont in a game they battled back, almost won, and covered the number. They then beat LaSalle, Colgate, and Old Dominion. That's a pretty good run. That was when they were they're at their most healthy. Recently, they've basically been playing down 3 starters because Troutman's been out, Kermery's been out since December, and Pratt was out for a couple of games and then trying to play through injury. Pratt came back on Monday, played 39 minutes, and led the team with 22 points. I have a good buddy of mine that follows this program closely that said Kermery's been back in practice all week. He didn't play Monday, but he's been practicing all week. So, and then Troutman's kind of been the guy that's been, he'll come back, he'll play 5 games, he's out. He'll come back, he'll play 3 games, he's out. So the way I look at it is this. I think Northeastern's probably good enough to win this game down a couple starters. We know Pratt is back, so we know the 2 guys in question here are William Kermery and Masai Troutman. If you get neither of them back, Northeastern still got a pretty good chance to win this game because Hampton just doesn't have as much talent as Northeastern does. If you get even one of those guys back, you're at what I consider to be a pretty significant advantage in a game where you only need to lay minus 120 or minus 125. I think I locked this in minus 125 on the money line. So you're making a bet that probably is going to win regardless, but that has a very high upside if Kermery comes back tonight or if Troutman plays. Hampton's going in the right direction. Ivan Thomas, Jeff, was one of Ed Cooley's top assistants for years. He takes over the Hampton job instantly better than it's been because he's actually running a professional real, like Hampton was a circus the last couple of years, a complete circus, just no leadership, terrible coaching, guys in and out of the lineup. Thomas has cleaned that up, but he just doesn't have the talent yet. It's going to come along, but if you look at Hampton since conference play has started, they have 3 wins, but 2 of them are against North Carolina A&T, who hasn't won a conference game yet this year. And then they beat Delaware, who's really just like, I think Delaware will continue to fall off as the season goes on. Northeastern, basically the same record, but their losses, they've lost to the top teams in this league. Towson twice, lost by 2 to Charleston. That was a really good game. I think maybe Wilmington maybe in the mix there. Like the point is, Northeastern, they're losing to the better teams in the league because they've been at a little bit shorthanded. But even without players, they've still beat the Drexels, and whoever. Like they've beat the sort of the bottom. I think Stony Brook maybe. So I just think Northeastern money line here, Jeff. I just feel like you're getting. It's a good bet no matter what. And then if one of those 2 guys ends up making their way back to the lineup tonight, or even is available off the bench, it'd be like a 3-point move in my opinion. So it's a good bet with a ton of upside. So I really like the Huskies here.
I'm trying to see here. Give me 1 second and go down towards the bottom there. I bet you it's near one of them. Monmouth. Of course it's not. How come nothing's ever easy? There it is. All right. Ken Palm's got him 69-68. So it's comical. I was a Northeastern guy back with Reggie Lewis. I followed them. They're 45 minutes away. Not that I've been up there to see any of their games, but I do follow this league very well. I thought that was a great spot by earlier this week, and it's just hilarious. Unscripted here. Your first game you want to talk about is Northeastern. So as you said, maybe I was just a game early. And the funny is, the hardest part in our lanes is having the team and then going back to the well the next time after they beat you.
Yeah, and I think if you listen, if you were on Northeastern on Monday, I think this is like a spot where you can go back, because had this scenario, like had Northeastern been a little bit more healthy on Monday, they probably have a really good chance to win that game, right? So like I'd almost just like chalk it up to like, listen, it's going to happen. Over the course of the year, you're going to be on the wrong side of some injury stuff. Like it's virtually impossible to be on the right side of every late scratch, every, got like every single injury sort of thing. It's impossible. And I would chalk that up to just like Northeastern still down 2 starters. I know Kermery came back to practice on Monday, so I'm sure there's some people that thought he was in on Monday and he didn't play. Like, so again, I'm just hopeful he plays here. But let me tell you something. There's a big difference. Towson and Hampton, big difference between those 2 teams. Towson's still a really good, well-coached basketball team. Hampton's just not talented. They're not nearly as talented as Towson. So you also have the step down here for Northeastern. Even though they're going on the road, Hampton doesn't have the best atmosphere. I've been down to that building. I wouldn't give them like a huge marks for home court. So yeah, I really like Northeastern.
Second game you brought up, UNC Wilmington, North Carolina A&T.
Yeah, I'm going to scratch that one. So I'm going to go to And the reason is I ended up playing something else. So I just want to,
Okay.
I ended up, I do have an opinion there. If someone really is interested, I'll talk about it. But I ended up making a bet on Monmouth plus 3.5.
Okay.
And so I just decided, let's talk about the ones that I've actually bet so far. So yeah, played Northeastern minus 125 on the money line. I played Monmouth plus 3.5. Jeff, if we do Thursdays and Monmouth plays on Thursdays a lot, I'll probably bring it up every show for the rest of the year. That Monmouth plus 11 last Thursday, is a top 5 beat, maybe all time for me. If you did not see the game, I will quickly refer to it again. They lost a game by 12 that they were leading with 2 minutes left and that they were going to the line down 7 with 3 seconds to go. And the way they lost was multiple technical and flagrant fouls that put Elon at the line for 6 foul shots in the final 3 seconds of the game. And they made all 6. Lost the game by 12. Monmouth plus 11, as bad of a beat as you're ever going to find. But I think it's important to note that that game was much closer. Okay, now I look at the last 2 games for Monmouth. This is a 5-16 team, but they're 3-5 in conference play. They were 3-3 in conference play before losing to Monmouth, before losing to Elon and William and Mary. And both of those games were right down to the wire. William and Mary is 7-1. William and Mary very well might win this league this year. That's Brian Earl, who came from my neck of the woods, coach of Cornell for the last decade. He's now down at William and Mary, and he has turned that program around overnight. Instant contender. And honestly, I tell Steve Merrill, who's a William and Mary guy that works with me at Wager Talk, you're going to win in this league as long as Brian Earl's there. He's as good of a coach as in that league. It was awesome to watch him at Cornell all these years. I get out to Cornell games every once in a while. It's like an hour and a half from where I live. And so no shame for Monmouth in losing to those 2 teams. Okay. This is a Monmouth team like that. Yeah, they're 5-16, but they played a bunch of bye games. They played, like, you look at their non-conference record or non-conference run: Michigan State, Temple, Rutgers, Wichita State, Seton Hall, which they won, actually. I think they won the Seton Hall game. Princeton and Auburn. So, like, a lot of games that they weren't really expected to win, picking up paychecks, trying to keep the program, financially afloat. Can't really judge them on a lot of those losses. Abdi Bashir might be the best player in the Coastal this year. Like, Monmouth very well might have the best player. He's averaging 21 points per game, Jeff. King Rice has gone as far as to, like, beg coaches, like, hey, can you just wait until the season is over to take him, to recruit him? Like, he's gotten so much interest so far from the bigger schools that, like, King Rice had to publicly come out and say, please stop contacting my best player in January. Like, at least let him finish the season. We know he's gone after this year. At least let him finish the season. He's that good. How often do you have a 5-16 team where you legitimately have the best player in the league, right? So I look at that as, like, some value for Monmouth. You got Madison Durr, who came over from the Citadel, who's also very good. So, this is a Monmouth team. Like, they were 3-3 in conference play until a week ago when they played 2 of the better teams in the league on the road. They've only played 4 home games all year, Jeff. All year, 4 home games. That's it. This is their 5th home game. They're 3-1 at home this year. This is only their 5th home game. The last home game, they beat Charleston by 11. That's the class of this league every year is Charleston, and Monmouth ran them out of the building by 11. Zach Spiker's a great coach. Drexel has no talent. Like, I was at Army on Sunday. I went to the Army-Navy game down at West Point. Big banner up there. Zach Spiker, Coach of the Year, 2013. He was the coach at Army for one of their best stretches, and he's now the coach at Drexel. He's a phenomenal basketball coach. The fact that he's 4-4 in league play with this group is award worthy in itself, because this Drexel team is talent void. I really think that, like, player for player, they have the worst group of talent in this league, but they're 4-4 because Spiker's going to outcoach teams like NCAAB, Stony Brook. The Hofstra game, they were very fortunate to win. Hofstra led by double digits and choked it away at the end. And then I already said Delaware is just overrated. So Spiker's going to get you a few wins, but I don't know that he can continue to win on the road, continue to win and cover. Like, that's essentially what you're asking Drexel to do here. You need to win the game. You need to win a road game, and now you need to win by margin because you've won a couple of games recently. So I was willing to fade that. I think Drexel is as talent void as any team in the Coastal this year, and Monmouth still has two really good players that are going to keep them in every single game. So Monmouth plus 3.5, I just thought was a ton of value on a team that's playing their fifth home game of the season. Jeff, it's almost February. It's just their fifth home game of the season. They're 3-1 at home, and that's a good building. Monmouth used to be in the MAC. Siena used to make the trip down there every year. That's a very if they get fans, it's like 5,000 seats. When they get people to show up, which I'm guessing they will, since there's been literally 4 home games to this point, that could be a nice little atmosphere down there in West Long Branch, New Jersey. So Monmouth Hawks tonight plus 3.5 is another game that I bet.
And I like where the eyes are when you get a 12-9 team versus a team with 6 wins. I love where your eyes are. Listen, this segment, again, will be all about today's games. I love the 2 breakdowns. I wouldn't be doing my job, Adam, if I got to ask you, life without Liam, the Huskies, again, another piss poor effort against a bad DePaul team. But again, we talked about this at length. That XL Center, I'm telling you, Dan, if you need to go somewhere and play other than stores for your home games, I'd rather have you take the trip up to Madison Square Garden and get the full effect there than this XL Center. But life without Liam, they thought he'd come back yesterday. I would have liked to see him come back to get some rust off. I don't know if they're holding him back for Saturday. I'm on Ken Palm right now. The Huskies travel to Marquette, and Ken Palm's got Marquette beating them by 8. Any initial thoughts here? I think Ken Palm's spot. This Huskies team to me is not good right now.
Yeah, I think we've kind of beat the dead horse in terms of listen, Dan Hurley's a phenomenal coach. His staff is as good as it gets. He knows the game, right? Like he knows he doesn't have to win these games. Like UConn, even with they'll do enough to get into the NCAA tournament, right? Like they just, and the committee will give them every break in the world for not having certain guys throughout the course of the season. And then also, I'm just looking at February when they go, they've got from February 18th on, they finished 4 of 6 games at home. Villanova, Georgetown, Marquette, Seton Hall, all home games. I'm sure they'll win all of them, right? So they're going to be fine. I will say this, this stretch coming up at Marquette, St. John's at home, at Creighton. I do think Hurley's probably in that locker room trying to really rally he's going to want to rally the troops for this stretch, because it would be bad if you lost all 3 of those, right? I don't think anyone's expecting UConn to go to Marquette and win, beat St. John's, and go to Creighton and win. You win 1 or 2 of them, you're perfectly fine. This is still a 15-6 team that's 7-3 in the league. So my strategy with UConn is going to be to kind of, probably watch from a distance. But there will be that time, Jeff, where it makes sense to step in with them and take a shot. I don't know if it's here. I don't know if I would. But you know what? Marquette's due for a little bit of a letdown. They've kind of been winning big game after big game. I thought Butler might have a chance against them earlier this week, and Marquette managed to kind of win that. I don't know, if you caught that game, but it was but Butler just could not score at the end of the game. And Marquette ended up covering 8.5, right at the end. So Marquette covered 8.5 by winning by 9. That really was probably a more competitive game. That Butler probably, could have covered the numbers. So I actually think, just based on maybe Marquette being due for a little bit of a dud, I would lean toward UConn there. Take the points. Try to take it at its peak, especially if UConn holds out players again, because you'll get a move, right? So you'll get a line move that's further in favor of Marquette. Again, I don't know if I'll make that bet, but I'm starting to look for where's the spot to jump in, because we've referenced 2 years ago many times. This is where that UConn team from 2 years ago was. They had 6 conference losses. Right now, this UConn team's 7-3 in the Big East. So there's going to be a surge at some point for UConn. It's just trying to figure out where that surge starts. But it could very well, at least against the number, Jeff, it could start this weekend.
And I love what your eyes are here, and great eyes. The fact that you traveled to Marquette, okay. Now this St. John's team is cooking with Crisco. Man, what a whooping they put on Georgetown earlier this
I
week.
got to point something out with St. John's though, Jeff. That their defense is phenomenal. Offensively, they're lagging a little bit behind what they were last year. So that might be the spot to take UConn, because you know that like there's a good chance St. John's can't just like run you out of the gym with points. Like listen, Georgetown is a team that they're on the way up, but they're still not up. They're still not back, right? Like Cooley's got them going in the right direction, but they just weren't ready to play. What was that? 23-3? They weren't ready to play. UConn at home is going to be ready to play. So maybe UConn, especially if UConn loses, and maybe let's say they lose by double digits to Marquette this weekend, that might be the spot you jump in with UConn at home against St. John's. Probably get a good number.
Scroll has been going the whole time. Can go follow you obviously on Twitter at AdamTriggerWT, at Wager Talk. Wager Talk, WT.buzz/AT. As we always wrap up this segment, Adam, please give us a shout out to where they can find all your work on Wager Talk and your show schedule.
Yeah, so I post a daily pick show every day to Twitter at AdamTriggerWT. We'll cover 3 angles in sort of like a deep dive on there. Today, I've got 3 plays. I've already given you 2 of them, Northeastern and Monmouth. The third one is a 5% play, which is the highest max designation that we have at Wager Talk. I was fortunate to hit my 5% play last night with Rhode Island, even though I had a 21-point second half lead at one point, Jeff. But they did end up in the end winning by 6, or I think it was 6, and covering the 4.5. So I decided to go back to the well, make another max bet tonight. And that one is a little bit later. So, that's up at Wager Talk. But if you want to see how my first 2 go, you'll have time to do that, because my 5%er's out on the West Coast. So it's up on the page. But if you want to see how Northeastern and Monmouth go first, I understand. You'll have time to do so.
Adam, welcome to Thursday's huge standing room only crowd right now. Thank you to you and all your followers, and we'll catch you next week, same time.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Adam Trigger, go follow him at AdamTriggerWT on Twitter. Get your popcorn, get your pom-poms. You got time to get your skates sharpened because the Zamboni's coming up. Go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, Mr. Andy Powers. Stay tuned.
Jared, hey, we're going to need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, it's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of the stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
That's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
I'm trying to multitask here. I was going to run another commercial. I'm just going to bring Andy in and let him talk while I try to wrap up the rest of the stuff. So without further ado, Mr. Andy Powers.
Hello, Jeff.
How are you?
Look at me, buddy. I mean, really look at me. That's how I'm doing. If I was doing any better, I'd be just being chased by the authorities.
Well, listen, we have so much to talk to. Short window here. Thank you on quick notice to come here. I was in Boston yesterday, and I only caught the crib notes, and I heard the name CHARA, and I heard the name upstairs. Now, listen, our buddy, Mr. Felger, brought up a great point. In other words, we've been talking now at length here, Andy, that Sweeney and Cam, we're always blaming someone else. We're blaming Tukarask. We're blaming Cassidy. They blamed Montgomery, yet these guys still have a job. Felger's yelling and screaming, you need a new set of eyes. How can you bring a colleague in, someone that used to play with you? You need a massive shakeup here. You can't put lipstick on a pig every day here. Can you tell me what the hell's going on with the Bruins?
Yeah, fine. It's actually one of the reasons why I don't wear lipstick. The thing about sports media in this town is they're extremely short-sighted, right? They're like this generation of teen sports viewers that like everybody they see on TV is the best that's ever done it, right? They're like Shea Gilchrist-Alexander is the best of all time. That's not true, right? You know, everybody with the Bruins feels like it's just such a siloed problem. Only people that can fix it are the people that the Bruins knows. No, that's not true. Like CHARA is a great player, was a great player for a long time, like an unbelievably fitness, athletic guy. What does he know about the front office? They need to go outside and get a real professional that's done this to come in, look at the organization from top down, make the changes that need to be changed. And, you know, I also heard Michael Hawley talking about, well, it's a problem with the coaching. They've cycled through 3 coaches in the last 5 years. It's the same problem. They don't have NHL caliber talent to win consistently in the NHL. I don't care if you put Anthony Pebble behind the bench. The result is going to be the same. So those are the issues. I know it's good radio like that, but like just I don't know if they know how dumb they sound.
No, and I'm spot on. I mean, Andy, if you played for the Bruins and then now you want to get into upper management level, and I brought you back because we need a shakeup here. And how are you going to go and look at our roster and like, well, Jesus, I played with him. I played with him. You know what the problems are. You can't go, Brad was great 5 years ago, but he needs to move. And you're not going to have the heart to do that.
No, and I also think that as a player, as a former player, like there's people that outside of hockey that, you know, have really good understanding of how to manage hockey organizations, how to run hockey organizations. It doesn't have to be a player. Like Cam Neely, hats off to you. You've done a great job. It's time to move on, but it doesn't have to be a player in that role. That doesn't make you, you know, the only category that you need to fill to get into the president of an organization role. There's people outside that haven't played for the Bruins that can do a good job, and that's where they should look.
I became a Bruins fan because of Bobby Orr. I grew up with Bobby Orr. And then we passed the torch to Ray Bourque. You know, I'm 45 minutes away from the greatest kids hockey schools, BC's, the BU's, the Northeasterns. Oh, by the way, the Beanpot's coming up soon. Wink, wink. But my point here is Charlie McAvoy, I think, now call me crazy, was supposed to be our next Ray Bourque. That's my take on it. Since he got his new contract, now he has a new child. It just hasn't happened. Injured. I don't know. My question to you, Andy, I'm giving you the new GM role. Is there a way for us to move one of the big name stars to a team that has a Celebrini, one of these up and coming guys, or is there the next Bedard or someone coming up this year or next year? It's time to move on from the old and add the new.
Yes, I agree with you 1,000%. And to answer your question quickly, yes, there's a way to do that. Now, I'm going to be realistic because this is what, we live in Red Sox country, and everybody in Red Sox country, when the Red Sox are struggling, will be like, hey, I have a trade idea. I want the backup DH and a kid from Pawtucket for Shohei Ohtani. Be like, are you out of your mind? First of all, nobody's giving up a young talent for a McAvoy who hasn't performed on his deal, right? What you can do is you can get draft picks are key. Now, that being said, the Bruins have not been terrific in the draft, right? They're one of the only teams that didn't have anybody represented in the World Junior Tournament, which we watched USA win in December and January. So their farm system needs help. Like what the rebuild that the Bruins need to go through, right? They need to go through it is going to take a while. It's going to take 5 to 7 years. And you can start that rebuild right now by moving on from guys like McAvoy. I mean, maybe Pasternak. I don't know. this is the thing in the NHL. A lot of people have no movement clauses. All that means is they want to be consulted. Like they have first right of refusal. We saw it with Linus Ullmark. Like if they don't want to go someplace, they'll just say no. But you can move them. You just have to have an open conversation. But the Bruins need to get rid of top end talent. Anybody really, and even if it's Marchand, like that guy means nothing to us. I don't care that he's the captain. He's not doing a terrific job, right? A captain, a true leader, isn't on a team that's up and down, has gotten 2 coaches fired. And you need to rebuild through the draft and stockpile young talent. But the people right now internally at the Bruins, they don't have a track record of being successful in the draft. So I would not trust them to do that type of rebuild.
Bruins, last question on the Bruins. Bruins right now about even money to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You have Biff's Almanac. It is January 30th, 2025. Andy Powers, do the Bruins make the playoffs?
First of all, I love that Back to the Future reference. I think that's one of the great movie series, that and Rocky. It's funny. I don't think they do. I just think there's too much baggage. There's too much negativity around this team. But, being in a pro sports town like we are, right, you would have thought all the negativity that's thrust upon the Bruins and the fact that they're still in the playoff race, in the wild card race, like that's crazy. I'm going to say no. If I have Biff's Almanac, I say no because teams like Columbus, there's a lot of positivity around them. They're chasing them, and they have a different feel about them. So I just don't think the Bruins, I said it from day one, they don't have enough scoring at this level. Their top scorer, Pastrnak, is hot and cold. He actually had a good run for about 10 games, but you don't know. He's not consistent enough to count on. Goaltending has been okay. I mean, a lot of people give Swayman a hard time because he took the money, but that's what you pay for a goaltender in this league. And it's not about him. They're just not scoring goals. They allowed 7 goals to the Sabres the other day. I know there was a couple empty netters, but their team defense isn't great. I don't think they make the playoffs.
NCAA men's top 20 rankings. Your Boston College Eagles 18-4-1, followed by Michigan State, who you opened up against, Western Michigan, Minnesota, Denver. Give us the update on your BC Eagles.
Eagles are playing well. Boston College just swept Boston University last weekend. They won back-to-back games at home and home. They won at BU on Friday night, really dominant win. And then they squeaked out a 2-0 win against the Terriers at home at Conti Forum, a place that was rocking. This is a good one, Jeff. I don't know if you saw it, but BU played a freshman goaltender that they just got out of the USHL, and he went out and took a lap, which is called a rookie lap. But he went out before the teams were allowed to go out. So BU had to start the game on a penalty kill. BC on the power play. BC scores on that power play. They score 30 seconds into the game. That's the winner. 1-0 for the most part. They had an empty net at the end, but a real, a bad decision by BU cost them a game, and BU took advantage. That's what good teams do. And then those two teams will go back Monday and start the Beanpot, and it's going to be a good tournament this year. Harvard's a team that's struggling. Northeastern hasn't played their best, but everybody, first 2 Mondays in February, all 4 teams tend to play well.
Well, the same thing happened last year, if I remember correctly. Yes. Is BC swept them. Then we get to the Beanpot where BU says, okay, you can win those 2. We'll take the Beanpot here. The way the bracket's set up, they wouldn't meet till if they both win, they'll meet in the championship, correct?
Yes. The first Monday, BU plays Harvard, BC plays Northeastern in the late game. That rotates every year. BC and BU are supposed to win. And maybe they make it to the finals. But like I said, Northeastern is a team that's had success recently in the Beanpot. They tend to play well in the Beanpot. BC will have their hands full. And BU, maybe they take a stupid penalty to start the game again and lose again. Hopefully, we can cross our fingers.
Last question here. Beanpot, after the Beanpot, how many games left for BC?
I think they have 8 games left.
And then we start the Hockey East tournament, and the Frozen Four is where?
Frozen Four is in St. Louis, Missouri.
So basically speaking, after the regular season, Hockey East, last man standing. You got you and Pep jumping and playing, and hopefully head there. Correct?
Yeah, we charter a jet. We fly private, Anthony and I. We have high class. We're high class people, man. I don't know if you know that about us to look at us, but we'll travel first class to St. Louis. Suppose that BC makes it. NCAA is tough. I mean, it's always tough. You play the best of the best. You have to be a little lucky and good. BC was really lucky and good last year, and they got to the finals and they lost 2-0 to the national champion Denver Pioneers. But if you look at Boston College, the way they're structured this year, they're a really good defensive team. They lead the NCAA with 6 shutouts. Their goaltender, Jacob Fowler, is terrific. So I think they really position well for a postseason run. Anthony, Pepe, and I might finally get some jewelry that we deserve. I'll add that part. Anthony and I deserve it.
Well, I know last year Mr. Anthony Pepe was planning the mic drop after that Denver game. Unfortunately, it was BC that dropped that game. So you guys are back at it again this year. I got high hopes. Obviously, it starts by winning the Bean Pot, then the Hockey East, and then a trip out to St. Louis. Andy, I can't thank you enough. Enjoy the Bean Pot, and we'll make sure we get you back real soon.
Jeff, always a pleasure, buddy. You know where to find me. I love being on the program. So good luck. Stay warm out here, baby.
All right. Thank you so much. Andy Powers, go follow this gent. Well, we have no way to follow him. So just follow him at BC Hockey. He's a great guy. Knows so much about hockey, not just Hockey East, the Bruins and stuff. So great guy. I'm so glad that I met him. Thanks to Anthony, of course. Going to cut quick commercials and then we'll wrap it up. Stay tuned. ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about Wagerwire. Wagerwire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at Wagerwire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search Wagerwire and download the what a show, and what a busy day here. Shout out, of course, to Mr. Trigger, Adam Trigger, starting us off with some college hoops. He's now here on Thursdays, and the Wager Talk followers on Adams, thank you. Stand room only here. Mark your calendars, turn on your notifications here at East Coast Sports Investors, at EC Sports Invest, and never miss a show here. Followed up by Mr. Andy Powers talking some Boston Bruins, and of course, Hockey East. 3 o'clock. Fight Night Fortunes with Lou Finicaro as we are back in the Octagon this week. And at 5 o'clock, Ron Marmolewski to wrap up some NFL, his early thoughts about the Super Bowl, what's going on in some of the coaches, the hirings and the people that have left. And then we'll give you a little sneak peek, maybe a prop or two on the Super Bowl. Got to give a big shout out to CJ Nichols and Mr. Kyle Mazur for getting us set up here. A lot of work goes into these shows with the crawlers, the updated odds to the second, and these guys are second to them. Make sure you're following them at Live Zone Sports and catch their shows throughout the week as well. A big wrestling show coming up, I think, on Friday, as a big wrestling card on Saturday. So again, for myself, Jeff Dawson here at EC Sports Invest, come check us out at 3 o'clock. Fight Night Fortunes, Lou Finicaro, and at 5 o'clock with Ron at Ron A Sports. Guys, have a great afternoon, and we will see you soon.